Well, hey there and welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations and thanks for tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. I'd love to have you join us every week for all of our different crafting projects. And if you've already subscribed, thanks. I love you. Today, you know what? I've been kind of getting into the holiday mood, and I thought that what I might try my hand at, I lost my little sketch on the walk over to the table, but what I have done is this. I kind of drew out a couple of ideas of Christmas stockings, and I have that's this one here, turn them into bigger pictures. So I've sketched it out. You can see onto my craft paper here, and all I'm going to do is cut it out. These are going to serve as my pattern. So I just want to kind of cut out the design now that I've got it roughly in place. And these are going to be the patterns, the templates for my finished stockings. And it will serve to help me as I go to cut out the fabric. Now, here's what I'm looking at doing. I don't have a lot of fancy dancy fabrics here in the shop. So I am going to preface this by saying you could certainly go and do something similar and go buy really super duper fabric. So, you know, some velvets maybe, and lots of trimmings and whatever sets your little heart aflutter. I, however, am in the workshop, and I got this idea while I'm here in the workshop. So I don't have any of that. What I do have is plain kind of drop cloth fabric. So I am going to have the additional challenge of zhuzhing my stockings up using what I have on hand. So I figure that I am going to use maybe some stencils, maybe some transfers, some paint, some of my wreath ribbons. I mean, I'm just going with what I've got on hand. And the thing I like about showing you that, so garbage. The thing I like about showing you that is that then it shows you what you can do with what you've got on hand. It isn't always about having to make something beautiful, starting with things that are already beautiful. Sometimes starting with things that are already beautiful is maybe more expensive than what we have. And sometimes, you know, let's face it, out of all of the holidays, Christmas can sometimes be the one holiday that gets the most, that's why, bad scissors, can get the most out of hand. And I get that we want our house to be beautiful and festive. I will pick that up. But sometimes we just don't have the financial resources to do all that, and all of the groceries and baking and cooking and all of the gifts. And, you know, maybe this might be a Christmas where we actually get to spend it with people. So, yay! In which case, you know, we're looking at maybe wanting to do something a little bit more special. But again, past year or so has been pretty financially tough on a lot of us, and we might not have all of the resources at our disposal. So if you do and you want to zhuzh this up with really super fancy brocades and toiles, velvet, you go for it. And if you don't, then you can follow along with some of what I do and add the zhuzh and the bling where you can, and you know, you do what you can. So I want to show you what, just using some of the supplies that I have, what options that gives for you. Now, I've done these, and I'm hoping you can hear me over all the cutting. So I've done these to be sort of like ladies' boots. So this is one, and this one is just slightly different. So slightly different toe, slightly different angle cut. Can you see my toe? So I've just kind of freehand drawn these, you know, obviously not a computerized template by any stretch, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll maybe find the other little picture I drew, and it's on the floor between here and there somewhere, I'm sure, where I was sprawled out on the floor drawing these things out. So I'll maybe take a picture and you can take a look at them and copy them, blow them up if you need to. I'll post them maybe in the comments for you so that you can steal away to your heart's content. I don't mind. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go grab some of my drop cloth fabric. It's just a plain cream color, and we'll get our shapes cut out, and we'll start taking it from there in terms of how we're going to beautify the drop cloth fabric. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. I have my 2 stockings down and pinned to my fabric. Now I've got the fabric doubled over so that I'm going to have a front and a back, and I have my fabric with the good sides facing each other because I'm going to cut around each of these, and then I'm going to sew my two halves, my front and back, together. Obviously leaving the opening at the top because that's where all the goodies get to go to get stuffed. When I'm cutting these out, I am actually going to cut roughly a ½ inch outside of the border of my pattern. This is kind of my finished stocking. We certainly don't want this to get any more narrow. So we're going to cut about a ½ inch, which is what my sew line is going to be. So that I'll be sewing roughly around where the pattern is. Are you with me? If you're a sewer, you were there long before I ever got there. If you're not a sewer, then, you know, you're with me because I'm just faking this. I don't do a lot of sewing, but I'm thinking I kept the lines fairly simple and I should be able to manage. So we'll see. So I'm just kind of cutting out the rough shape first, and then I'll cut the little bit of detail that you can see up in the heel there. Now that I have my stockings sewn together, I am going to remove the patterns, and really, quite honestly, now that I have them cut out, they don't look much different. So I think it's just the embellishments that I drew on my original little pictures were different, so it made them look different, but there you go. So the one thing that I'm going to do before I try and turn them inside out is I'm going to cut off some of the excess fabric down here, especially in the toe areas where it's likely to bunch up and make it difficult for me to be able to turn or get kind of some of the detail happening, right? So cutting off some of the excess. Not such a problem coming up the sides, so I think just the toes and some of the, maybe the turn here. We are simply going to start to turn them inside out, but kind of get down to those toes first. Toes and the heel. Let's see what we can do. I'm just kind of using my finger, and of course I didn't bring my dowel, but I'm just using my finger to kind of get down into those corners first. Let me just kind of grab my scissors. Just so I don't lose some of the definition there. Okay, that's good. Now, where'd my toes go? It's just kind of a little futzing and finagling. Yeah, it's just ironing on my work table. Okay, so just go and get these ironed nice and flat, and then we can start looking at embellishing them. So far, kind of cute. They might be a little bit longer toed than I had intended, but but hey, that's the way it goes. I could change it up next time. On this first stocking, I decided to try using one of the IOD transfers. So here you see me with the toile transfer, and it actually went on beautifully onto the fabric. So you're going to use it the same as you would on any of the other design patterns. You're just taking the element that you need in the area that you need. So I've had to cut it down here for the toe. And you're just going to use the little plastic tool that they give you to be able to rub it onto the fabric. I did do a little tiny test patch on one of the toes to see if it would adhere to this fabric without any other medium, and it went on great. So I didn't have to use anything else. I just simply used the transfer as you would on any other project, and it went on perfectly. I'm just doing it on this one as a different technique, but you can definitely use the transfers on different fabrics. This is a fairly flat nap though. The deeper the nap, the tougher it's going to be, obviously, but on a flat nap fabric, like a drop cloth, it goes on perfectly. So I covered the entire stocking in the toile on the front and the back. Now that I have got my toile on both sides, which it feels lovely actually, I'm just going to look at embellishing this now. So the first thing that I want to do is just kind of turn this down in. Now here's the thing, if you are really into sewing, then you are going to want to, because I'm going to be adding ribbon, you're going to want to sew your ribbon on, turn it down. I'm not into sewing, so I am doing this the minimal sewing way. I'm already proud that I actually sewed the stocking part, and so we're calling it quits while I'm ahead there. So I'm going to turn this in, and I am actually going to hot glue it. So if you're an avid sewer, look away right now. No, don't watch me do this. Because it's not going to make you happy, because you're going to say, Cindy, you could have sewed it. I could have, but it is not my forte, and we're pushing my luck. We're pushing my luck already here. So I am going to just kind of crease this over with my fingers, and I'm going to start adding some glue and this little edge. mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, I used to staple my hems when I was in university. When they would fall down, I would staple them or I would masking tape them. So, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't that bad in my world. All right, so there's the top of this. What I thought would be pretty is just putting a little bit of a lace trim down the front of my boot. And thinking ahead, I wanted to do that before I put on the big fat trim so that it wouldn't show. Smart, right? Okay, thank you. So I want to glue a little bit across and then a little bit down and just get this started right. Now this little lace happens to have kind of a midline, so it's going to allow me to kind of line this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of do the back of it first and allow me to put a dot of glue there and a little down the middle and then an occasional dot so that I can take my seam and kind of run it down the middle of that. So it's going to kind of lie nicely for me. And then on this side, I can just put a little bit of a dot here and there to also have it lie down. Now I wanted a little bit of glue strands everywhere. I wanted a little bit of bling. I mean, that's pretty cute with the lace going down, but what I had was this string of fake pearls. So I cut 3 lengths, each one getting progressively longer. And what I'm gonna do is glue the first one in use my plastic stick, maybe about 1.5 inches from the edge on one side, and then the same from the other side. And I'm not taking it all the way up to the top just because I'm going to be gluing that thick ribbon around the top, and it'll cover it, and I don't want it to be kind of bumpy. But then I'm going to take, let me just make sure I'm taking my next longest strand, and I'm going to do the same thing, maybe only about 1/2 inch in from the first, and then 1/2 inch on the other side. And doing the same again for that 3rd strand. And just letting them dangle. I think that is kind of cute, just on the side. Well, only if the glue sticks. I'm kind of lifting it sooner than it wants to be lifted here. But just letting them kind of dangle, do their own thing. Kind of cute, right? Just as an extra little embellishment. Now, just all the odd glue strands there all over the place. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is now I want to glue my ribbon on. So again, I folded in that edge just a little bit, and I'm gonna start by gluing it pretty much flush with that back seam, just so that when I do the next piece, it comes to match up, right? So it will look sort of finished. It'll look sort of like it's a sewn seam back there. I'm just gonna let that cool, pull the glue off of my thumbs. And I am just going to glue this up along that top edge. Okay? So I'm gonna make sure that it's nice and tight, glued in along that top edge, and I'm going to just tack it on that bottom edge every so often. So the top edge is going to be a nice straight glued line right over top of that lace. So it'll look very finished along the top. And I'm going to do the other side before I see how much I want or need to tack the other. So again, I'm going to cut this piece now just to help me be able to glue it. But I'm going to cut this piece slightly longer than my finished edge is going to be, because when I get to that, I want to be able to fold that in. A cute finished edge. And now I want to fold this in just a little bit to get that finished edge. And that wire helps kind of hold it in place. I'm just kind of measuring out how much to be able to fold it so that it kind of ends up where I want to need it to here. Okay, and because this is angled a little bit, you fold in a little bit more on that bottom edge. Than you do toward the top. So there's the start of this one in terms of embellishing. And I'm saying start only because I'm not sure how much more I'm gonna add on. If I'm gonna add on, I'm thinking maybe some little something as buttons. And I'm thinking somewhere in here, I have fake little half pearls. So they've got like a flat back, and that might be cute going down on either side. So I'll see what I can come up with. The majority of this is done, however, so just kind of cute. Ultimately, hang a little ribbon back here for it to be able to hang. And there's one of our stockings. I'm gonna do some thinking about the next one, but I'm not minding the shape, and I'm loving the toile on this. So let's do some thinking and see what we're doing for the next one. For this next stocking, I am going to make some little pale pink organza bows. So I'm looking for this one to be just softly, nicely feminine. And I'm going to be using this little gold, and there's some holly that's sprinkled with gold, and little pale pink. So I'm looking at using that, and I'm thinking that as much as we did the lace up the front and little almost like pearl buttons, what I'm thinking of doing is making little organza bows with a small glass pearl in the center, kind of in that same sort of goldeny gold color. And I'm going to attach the bows up the front of the boot. So a kind of simple design, but still kind of very pretty and feminine, keeping in place with it. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to, again, glue that top edge down, And then I'm going to mark out where, once that's done, where this ribbon comes down to, so that I don't glue any of my bows up. And then I'm going to come back at you and we'll make well, let's just make a bow together now. So we'll see then how many have to go up on it. So I did a 2-inch bow. So I have marked off 2 inches on here. So we take the first 2 inches and just pinch, and that's our tail. We take the pinched area to the one side, pinch again, that's our first loop. Now this is our next loop, and we cross it over. Okay, it gets a little bit picky holding it because my fingers are fat and 2 inches isn't very big. But hey, and there's my next tail, okay? Now, I have a little tiny skinny piece of jute because it's pretty neutral, and we're just going to wrap that around, but you could use a little piece of wire, you could use a little piece of fishing line, you could use whatever. And I'm just going to tie that. I'm going to cut off those jute tails. Right. Just zhuzh this up a little bit. And I don't want these tails hanging down very far. So I am going to dovetail them, so folding them in half and cutting from the middle to the tips, okay? Or from the tips to the middle, depending upon which way you're going. This one's a little long still, just so that they kind of add a little bit. And then I'm going to take my glass pearl in that kind of golden color. I'm going to put a dab of hot glue in the center. I'm going to drop my pearl in and let it just sit and cool. So I'm going to glue down the top and glue my ribbon across as I did the last one, and then I'll come back at you and we'll start adding some of our other embellishments. And here we just, easiest to have my hand in, but I'm getting to the skinny part and my hand doesn't fit anymore. I do not have a skinny hand, but I'm just kind of eyeballing where to put our little bows. And really we're just looking at 5. So, I mean, it's always from a decor perspective, an uneven number. We can't have it go too far down the foot. But I think, whoops, all good. Not much of that ribbon anyway. So we have our little bows coming down. And again, I just used that same organza to do a little bit of loops so that there was some continuity. And I think that we could get away with just that. I'm debating, all right, I'll show you what I'm debating. I'm debating whether or not we want maybe like a little buckle on this one in sort of a golden bling. So we could put like a little bling button down here. But I'm leaning toward no. I think that that's really kind of cute, just sweet as it is, without overdoing it. I had debated whether to hang those pearls. So I'll show you what I was debating. Whether to have them kind of attached back here at the ankle, and kind of draping down over the front of the shoe. I don't know if I can hold this, give you an idea. Right? So it kind of drapes down over the shoe or not. It's kind of not bad. You know what? Okay, I have enough. I think this is what I'm gonna do. I just thought of this. All right, I'm going to do that. I'm gonna hang maybe about 3 little loops like we did at the very top of the other one. So there's a little bit of similarity between the two. And at the back where they get glued and attached together, I'm gonna do one more of our little pink organza bows and glue it at the back of the heel. I'm into that now. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just going to cut a couple of our loops here and glue them in place. So much as I did the other time, I will take 3 strands and I will make them a little bit longer each time, not substantially. Maybe that's about 1 inch longer. All right, so 1 inch longer each time. And just glue them to the heel. Glue them to the heel, make one more of those pink bows, and that'll do it for me. I just think these are just super cute as, all right, so a little more glue. So just super cute as little decor items, right? These aren't gonna be necessarily the fillable kind of stockings because we go pretty narrow in them, and they don't have a lot of, don't have tons and tons of room, but they're going to look adorable hanging up across a mantle. Just, you know, even if you create a bit of a wall decor. So, I mean, any of those kinds of things, they're gonna be super sweet. So I'm gonna get them a little bit stuffed so that the toes kind of have a little bit more shape to them, just loosely, and get them staged up. But you know what? Give it a try. I really like this kind of Victorian look of them, and it wasn't too difficult to come up with a rough design and then enlarge it. I will drop in my little hand sketches of them. So, you know, if you wanted to kind of copy them, blow them up, I mean, do whatever you wanted with them, then you're more than welcome to them. I'll drop them into the comments so that you have those. But yeah, super sweet. Hope you liked this one. I was experimenting all along the way. I hadn't done this before, as per usual. So thanks for hanging in with me. Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.